Hey, what's up YouTube? As you guys know, I love this FJ Cruiser and it's my favorite car in the entire world. I've done countless videos about all the things that I like about it and my experience as an FJ Cruiser owner. Now, that being said, I know that the FJ Cruiser isn't a perfect vehicle, and if you've watched my top 10 things I love about my FJ Cruiser, you'll see all of the things that I definitely really enjoy about it. However, in this video, I'm going to talk about some of the things that I don't necessarily like about it. This is not to say that I dislike the FJ Cruiser at all, but as with any vehicle, there are some things that can kind of drive you crazy sometimes. So this video is meant to give you a little bit of insight about some things that may detract you from maybe purchasing an FJ Cruiser, or just to kind of give you an idea of some things that may be disadvantages if you're looking to purchase an FJ Cruiser. So with that being said, I'm just going to get into it. All right, the first thing I don't like about my FJ Cruiser, and this is specific to my model year, are these rims. The wheels, to me, are not the best looking wheels. And not only that, but they are extremely difficult to clean. I like to call these wheels the Swiss cheese wheels of the FJ, and you can see why. We've got a bunch of these small little holes that, as you can imagine, are very difficult to clean. If I'm ever washing my car, one of the things that I least look forward to cleaning are the wheels here. You can get a lot of dirt and grime in between all of the little holes here, and having to kind of scrub in between all the holes is definitely a huge hassle. So I know that wheels are easy to change out, so it's not that big of an issue, but just something that I thought was worth noting. A lot of the things that I dislike about the FJ Cruiser have to do a lot with the windshield and the way that is set up. You'll notice that the windshield is almost vertical, and that leads to a lot of small chips and cracks in the windshield. In fact, while I was driving around today, I was hit with something on the windshield and definitely startled me a little bit. Just taking a look, I can see there's one right there, small chip right there, which may have been the one created today, and some over here. So I know it's difficult to see, but there are plenty of small chips in this windshield. And initially when I bought the car, I wasn't sure if I wasn't doing a good job cleaning, so I actually took a clay bar to the windshield one time and just kind of clayed the whole thing and made sure that I got all these little what I thought initially at the time was dirt and debris out of the windshield, and it still looked very flaky and had a lot of chips in it. And that can be problematic if you don't keep your windshield clean whenever you're driving. And you get a lot of dust on the windshield, or if you're driving against the sun, you'll notice that your visibility is impaired because the glass isn't as clear as it could be. It's kind of imperative that you keep your windshield nice and clean in order to maximize your visibility for driving. One other thing I dislike about the FJ Cruiser is the stock Bluetooth calling experience. This is something that I griped about in my review for the 12.3-inch Android head unit here, which you can see in the video linked here. And I realized that not every FJ came with the ability to make Bluetooth phone calls. One of the prerequisites that I had when I was looking for an FJ Cruiser was that it had to have Bluetooth for calling. I gotta say, I was pretty disappointed with that experience because it just required too many steps in order to, first of all, pair your phone and also to make phone calls. Instead of just a single press of a button, it might take 3 or 4 steps to make a phone call. So I'm definitely glad that I upgraded my stereo head unit. One other thing I don't like about the FJ Cruiser is that the seats don't fold down flat. So one of the reasons why you see people creating sleeping platforms in the FJ is because this is not a completely flat surface to sleep on. So if you go in and lay these down flat, you can see there's this little hump in the middle. So you got one level there, there's a little slant, and the rest there. So decent cargo room, however, it's not conducive for sleeping, which is why you see so many builds for the FJ Cruiser trunk in terms of sleeping spaces. If you are maybe 5'10" and above, then it might not be as comfortable as you might expect. So in that case, something a little bit longer like a 4Runner might be a better option for you. One thing that I don't like about the FJ Cruiser is it's very hard to see traffic lights. Maybe if I was first in line or second in line, the light would be blocked by the top of the headliner here. All right, so I'm driving here with the camera pretty much at eye level here, just to kind of give you an idea. And so I do find myself kind of ducking down just to kind of get a view of when the light turns green. The other thing is that the A-pillars are rather big. They also can be kind of a hindrance when driving. There was one time when I was waiting at a stop sign and a person was crossing the intersection, and I didn't even see them. They were hidden behind this A-pillar, and I went ahead and I almost hit that person. So something to be aware of for sure, because a lot of people talk about the blind spots in the rear quarter panel of the FJ. However, a lot of people tend to forget that these A-pillars are pretty wide as well. Compared to other vehicles, that A-pillar definitely can be a hindrance as well. So it's just something to keep in mind as you are driving. One other thing I don't like about the FJ Cruiser is the sun visors. Now, you'll see that the windshield is already relatively short, and if you're driving against the sun, a lot of people will, bring these shades down to kind of help shield their eyes from the sun. But even at this angle, you're limiting your visibility by quite a bit just by bringing it down. I find these to be pretty useless because, as you can see, visibility when you use these is kind of limiting. The best thing for me when I drive against the sun, I find that if I raise my head a little bit, if I just sit up a little bit straighter, the sun will get blocked out by the top of this headliner, and I find that to be a lot more practical than actually using the sun visors for their intended use. The next thing I don't like about the FJ Cruiser is the squishy sound that the brakes make. Initially, when I purchased this FJ and I drove it off the lot, the first thing I noticed was that the brakes make this squishy sound. But after a little bit of research, I realized that it is actually normal. And not only occurs in FJs, but also some Tacomas as well. If you have this issue, please let me know in the comments down below. But I made another video about the FJ Cruiser's squishy brakes, so you can check that video out as well. Now, this is something that I've grown accustomed to, and in all honesty, I don't really hear it anymore because it's become second nature. But if you're new to FJ Cruisers or Toyotas in general, then this is something that may bother you. All right, one of the most common gripes about the FJ Cruiser is the rearward visibility, and that has a lot to do with the rear quarter panels and how wide they are. Now, here's a view of the back of my FJ as I'm looking out behind it. And if you've got passengers in the back and you're using these rear headrests, there's the little window right beyond the edge of the headrest there. There's really nothing to be seen back there because these headrests are so high. Now, my kids are small, so I keep the headrests off so I can see a little bit back there, but I'm not going to go into too much about those blind spots. But the main thing that I wanted to bring up was that you can see the little hump back there for the spare tire. If you're not used to driving with a spare tire, and especially for people who upgrade to larger tires, you're going to have a larger spare back there, which is going to kind of block a lot more of your rear windshield back there. So you can see that the visibility back there is already, it's a small window to look out of, and then you've got that little hump back there that's also blocking a little bit of your view back. You know that feeling you get when somebody's tailgating you? You know that there's a car that's a little bit too close for comfort? Well, that's the feeling that you get when you drive the FJ Cruiser. When I first drove it home, I sort of got that feeling where you're constantly anxious because you feel like the person is tailing you a little bit too close. And that may not necessarily be the case, but if you have a smaller car behind you and they're sort of hidden by that spare tire, it can almost feel like they're a little bit too close to you because you can only see a portion of the front of the car, which makes it feel like they're a lot closer than they actually are. So I'm a lot more comfortable driving it now, but when I first started driving this FJ, was that the obscurity caused by that spare tire can cause a little bit of a false sense of tailgating. All right, you guys, so that's my short list of things that I dislike about the FJ Cruiser. I know a lot of you guys may not agree with some of these things, and that's fine because everyone has their own preferences, but these are just the ones that I wanted to point out. Maybe it'll help somebody gain some insight into some of the things that at least one person doesn't like about the FJ Cruiser. So with that being said, the FJ Cruiser is an awesome vehicle. I highly recommend it. The pros definitely outweigh all the cons. This is by far the most fun vehicle I've ever driven. It's my dream car, and it's something that I definitely enjoy driving every day. So I hope that was informative and enjoyable. If you guys enjoyed that, then please hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. So with that being said, I want to thank you guys for watching, and I will catch you on the next video.